welcome back to segment 3 of show 13, lightning round. Let's get started.
All right, so let's talk about the consolidation of advertising revenues. Essentially, well, in 2007, Google caught what, 40% of digital media spend or something. What are the numbers now? Do you know?
So Darren Herman actually was running the numbers, and he came across the fact that 5 companies, so Google, Yahoo, AOL, Facebook, and Microsoft, control 64% of ad spend. I saw this on my Twitter feed. It was one of the 5 stories you should know about in media posts, and it's nice to see how many people read that, because then Business Insider used it as the chart of the day and a bunch of other people.
Well, what do you make about these 4 companies capturing so much?
Bottom line, everybody talks about how the internet democratizes, everything. Bullshit. What this shows is that the internet is marching to become an even bigger monopoly than television ever was. And I think the bigger issue, though, is not that 5 companies, I think that's actually very misrepresenting that 5 companies control 64%. What's really more interesting is that Google has gone up from 40 to 45%. If you take a look at, and that's largely from search, but if you take a look at their dominance in video, where they own 43% of market share across YouTube, via YouTube, and when you consider that mobile, they're kicking butt through Android, and when you consider that they're going to enter connected TVs, and when you consider all these other things, I think Google is the Microsoft of our generation. It is the Standard Oil of our generation, and more power to them. So I think that's the bigger story in the next few years. And Facebook's gains are largely going to come, I think, more at Yahoo, Google. So I think that number is going to more or less be like 65, 75%, but I anticipate Google to get even stronger.
I think the reason why Google specifically gets so much, because they're very good at being this kind of company, but why these companies in general are capturing so much of the spend is that they're distribution companies. For example, the television networks captured the lion's share of television advertising, right? Yeah. It's the same kind of thing. As long as you can distribute the content, you get to middleman the content producers on the advertising.
Okay, second topic, Klout. What the hell is Klout? Should I care? Why is this making so much noise?
All right, a little bit of background. Klout changed their algorithm, which changed everyone's Klout score. So this is what Klout is. It's a load of shit. No, but seriously.
No, I'm joking. I'm kidding.
Klout is an algorithm that gives your Twitter account a score between 1 and 100, and plots you on, I think, a 9 area graph on whether you're an influencer or an observer or a listener. So pretty much what...
Is douchebag one of those 9? I'm just kidding.
I think it is. No. So what Klout does is it attempts to measure something that nobody else has a way of measuring, social influence. So let's put aside from the fact that the way they go about it is completely arbitrary and ridiculous. I think the reason why everyone is so upset is because a lot of people, because they couldn't measure certain things, whether it's for their own ego or for their clients, fell back and said, well, there's this third-party startup with VC, and they're measuring it this way, therefore it must be good. They've been gaming the algorithm for like a year or 2. They've been building up the Klout scores of their accounts, of their clients' accounts, and now they're just pissed that they have to relearn it. It was kind of like the Panda update, and that's why people are pissed. The difference is Klout is no Google. I don't think this really matters. At the end of the day, if you're really relying on Twitter to get anything done, people are either listening to you or they're not, regardless of what that number is.
Okay, third story.
All right, so I'll let you provide the background, but so what do you think? Is Arrington a racist?
No, I don't think Michael Arrington is a racist. What happened is CNN sent him one and then a second email basically saying that they were going to do something on entrepreneurship, and then it ended up being Soledad O'Brien, who I don't even think is black, not that it matters, but I've always wondered why she does the Black in America segment. She doesn't look very black, but that's, now I've upset women.
Now you're a racist and a sexist.
There you go. All in one show, great. There goes like 33 years of trying to be a respectable person down the drain. But my point is, I don't want to talk so much about is Arrington a racist. He's not. I think everybody came out to his defense, even people who usually go out of their way to bash him. I want to just talk more about the bigger issue, which is back in the day, gotcha journalism and all that. The media could get away with these kind of, whether you call it hit jobs or angles, where it's like, they put out a story and that's it. Then 24 hours, there's another newspaper. If they wanted to put it like a little correction, it was like, in the bottom lower third of whatever. Now with Twitter and Facebook and Crapster and all this, people can jump out and say, wait a second, this is BS. So is gotcha journalism, is that kind of hit job done with? Because if you attempt it as a media, that's the bigger issue I want to...
I think it can actually be separated from real journalism now, only because you have bloggers, and I mean big bloggers, people who have influence. I hate that I'm using celebrity bloggers as an example, but Perez Hilton. I think there's a different, now that there's different spaces.
The show is over right there, I'm sorry.
It's appropriate in some places, it's not appropriate in others. In my personal opinion, it's not appropriate for CNN, and that's another esoteric argument we won't get into, but I think it better belongs to more informal journalism such as bloggers.
All right, helping the bad guys. So it turns out Blue Coat, a US company, I'm going to throw in allegedly just in case their lawyers are watching, is helping out the Syrian government, which is going out and basically killing the Syrian people. So as bad as that is, I just want to know more generally speaking, let's say you run their marketing. What impact does this have on their brand? Now, I'm guessing Blue Coat is more of a B2B solution anyway, but still, I mean, it can't help. You walk into a boardroom to give your pitch, you're like, hey, aren't you the guys that are helping the Syrians run tanks over their people? Does this even matter? Or is this the kind of thing, as evil as it sounds, that other companies are like, hey, man, we want what the Syrians got.
I think you have to think of it in terms of who their target market is. Like, they sell technology that helps, restrict internet use, right? So they're restricting bandwidth. Their potential customers probably have a little bit of a draconian mindset, like, we want to control the message, and they don't really care how you go about it. All they know is that if the Syrians are buying these guys' technology, it must be, it might even swing in their favor because they know it's effective to some degree. Unless, of course, the mainstream media starts hyping the story, in which case it would be too unpatriotic or heartless to do business with them, and then they'd be sunk. But for the most part, I think as far as their target market is immediately concerned, I don't think this is going to affect them negatively, and not necessarily, but might potentially affect them slightly positively.
Okay, before we go to the email of the week, which this week I'm going to ask you because I think it's more up your alley, I just want to add this. Like, you're right about like who the target audience and the consumer is, because when you think of like Google coming out and saying, we're not going to do business in China, does the average consumer search, person care? No. The media might be like, oh, this is so great of Google, but at the end of the day, I don't think most people actually even care. They have their own lives and stuff. Okay, the question comes from Miguel from Florida, and it's more up your alley. So I'm going to ask you, if you had to pick just one tool between Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, which one would you use? And then I'll chime in too, but you can't say all three because it's different people.
I'm actually going to answer the question. Go. I'm going to pick one for once. Definitely Facebook.
Okay, now why?
One, reach, like 500 million people, like Jesus, it's a lot of people. Secondly, thanks to Google+, they finally have good privacy controls. I do most of my social networking on Facebook, both business and personal. LinkedIn is nothing more than a Rolodex for me anyway. I know biz dev guys and sales guys and even HR people who use it a lot more, but I don't do those things. And Twitter is really just a waste of time.
Okay, it's funny, but that's why. I actually find, whenever I'm like, let's say, waiting for someone or just got time to kill, or let's say my daughter's falling asleep and I just can't watch TV or anything and just half out, I'm spending a lot of time on Twitter, especially on my iPhone. I find just like that sort of newsroom panoramic view of what's going on. And I agree, the best part is...
You're not...
But no, because Facebook, I realize I love it, but it's like, okay, like it's good and you're with your family and I love that, but I mean, frankly, there's a lot of noise there too. At least Twitter, I'm like, oh, interesting stories from around the world that like the head programmer at CNN did not think was important and featured on CNN.com. But I find that sort of ability to just get access and funnel all this as a time-wasting exercise that's actually insightful. If I had to pick one, right now, in my state of mind, I would pick Twitter, believe it or not. Although, yeah, LinkedIn is great.
Maybe the people I'm friends with on Facebook are just more awesome than the people you're friends with on Facebook. Because I got to say, my Facebook feed is outcompeting my Twitter feed right now, only because there's less general noise. Like, the links being shared are completely on par, but I don't have random 140-character updates about someone's bowel movements or grande latte.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, because you're a hipster and I'm wearing a suit. Maybe that's why you're Facebook. I don't believe this. I'm going to a homeless shelter right after the shoot. I'm kidding. All right, that's been this week's show, lucky number 13. We'll be back next week, same time, same place.